I know, Kane Brown put out an album, El Paso is out now, Charlie Crockett put out an album. I hear all of you in my DMs, don't worry, I did check it out. But we're getting there, you know what I mean? I'm headed to a wedding this weekend, but before I leave, I want to sit down and record a few videos on some albums that have come out recently. And as you can tell by the title, we're talking about Ingrid Andress and my thoughts on her new album, Good Person. But more specifically, as you could also probably guess by the title, my problem with Ingrid Andress. I'll tell you my problem and then I'll explain it. Ingrid Andress is Joaquin Buckley. Just give me a minute. Just hear me out. So Ingrid Andress released her latest album, Good Person, just a few weeks ago, August 26th to be exact. I must have missed the announcement or something because I had absolutely no clue this album dropped. But when I saw it was out, I was like, oh shoot, I gotta check that out, which is the root of my beef with Ingrid. By now, I've listened to the album about 3 or 4 times, but it just hasn't stuck with me. I kept giving it another try because in a way, I wanted to like the album. I mean, I want to like every album I listen to. Why would I want to listen to a trashy album? But especially with someone like Ingrid, after hearing what she's capable of via More Hearts Than Mine, and seeing the success that song brought her, going into this album, I was rooting for Ingrid, hoping she would come through with the fantastic music that I know she's capable of. But unfortunately, in my opinion, that's just not what this album is. My overall experience with Good Person almost felt like Star-Crossed Deja Vu, which is another album I actually want to talk about again when I get the time. It's just such a puzzling release to me, even a year later, but I'll save that for now. Not only do I think the two albums are very similar musically, both sonically and lyrically, but my criticisms are very similar as well, and just my attitude and emotions towards Good Person are nearly identical to how I felt about Star-Crossed when it first dropped around this time last year. Dialing back in on Ingrid though, the album for me just feels like a 45-minute long song. Although I have no issue with her pursuing a more dream pop sound, I think the lack of distinction between the songs makes the album sort of drag and get a little boring, because with this more low-key, atmospheric pop sound, the way you're going to make the songs come together and worthwhile is by having some interesting, head-turning, thought-provoking writing. But the writing just wasn't really there for me. Sure, there's moments like Blue,
There's something about
or Seeing Someone Else,
I think you're seeing someone else.
and the one other song I will mention later, but I just don't think 3 decently written songs is enough to justify the 44 minutes of otherwise pretty pale background music. So while I don't think the songs on their own are horrendous or awful, they're sort of just wallpaper. But when every song is wallpaper, there's not enough statement pieces. The room winds up being really empty. If this album was a room, it would be a super sleek, modern office room, but it's just completely empty other than maybe like a nice clock on the wall or a cool filing cabinet. If you walked into this room, you'd be like, wow, it's a cool concept, but there's not a whole lot to it. It's just empty. And that's how this album feels to me. Like, where's the couch? Where's the desk? Where's the cool office chair? Where's the greenery? You know, when I sat down to record this, I thought I was only going to make one weird analogy. I guess I was wrong. But now to my problem with Ingrid Andress. How on earth is Ingrid Andress the country music equivalent of this man right here? Let me tell you, it's because she wrote More Hearts Than Mine, and now her latest standout, Yearbook. If anyone watching this video also regularly watches the UFC, odds are you know who Joaquin Buckley is. And even if you don't, if you're a general sports fan, I'm sure you've seen this highlight at some point in the last 2 years. It was nuts. He landed this innovative spinning back kick that sent shockwaves through the MMA world. Nobody could comprehend what Joaquin had just pulled off. Nobody knew who Joaquin Buckley was before the kick, but ever since, every time he goes to fight, people are gonna watch, no matter how average the guy is. Sure, he's got some wins here or there against some mediocre competition. His record is decent at 15-5. You know, it's nothing to be ashamed about, but he's also not some like 19-2 prospect. Yet, no matter how average he performs, every time Joaquin Buckley fights, people will watch. I will watch. You have to, because ever since that spinning back kick, we now know what he's capable of. And for that reason, he will draw a crowd even though he'll likely never recapture that lightning in a bottle. I mean, the dude was on the main card of UFC Paris, only under the main event and Whittaker Vittori, on the back of one win. If that kick doesn't land, nobody knows who he is. And that's kind of how I feel about Ingrid Andress. And of course I mean this in a lighthearted manner, but also kind of genuinely. Ever since More Hearts Than Mine, if Ingrid announces a song or an album, I will be checking it out. I have to, because I know she's capable of making music at that level. She could drop 10 more super mid-dreamy pop albums, but I will still be there Friday morning listening right through every single song every time she drops, just to see if she put out another song of the year. She is like eternally on my hypothetical main event. Every Friday, no matter who's dropping, if she is one of those names, there aren't many artists I will be checking out before her. Even though in all likelihood, I'm just walking into a mid/decent album or song. In the same way, I'm gonna be glued to my couch when Joaquin Buckley enters the cage, even though I know darn well, in all likelihood, I'm about to watch him get out-grappled or go to a decision with an unranked opponent that nobody knows. But the thing with the new Ingrid album is, she landed the spinning back kick again, in the form of the second song on the track list, Yearbook. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll know I have been raving about this song. When I heard it for the first time, I was in some dinky little hotel gym in Nashville, and I had to rewind the song as soon as it ended to listen through again. If Apple had those weekly or monthly stats, I would be willing to put money that it is my most listened to song of these last few weeks. But the song isn't just a standout relative to the otherwise mediocre album. I think Yearbook is one of the best songs to come out in 2022. In the same way More Hearts Than Mine was easily one of the best songs in 2019, despite being put on a pretty underwhelming record ladylike. If you haven't heard Yearbook, it is this absolutely gorgeous acoustic country ballad about her parents' marriage and how it hasn't panned out how it was supposed to. They were high school sweethearts, most likely to get married, and they've been married and living in the same house for 40 years now, but the last time they were on the same page was in the Yearbook. I mean, what more can you ask for? The writing on this song is just so poetic, yet devastating and obvious at the exact same time. It's not like you have to decipher what she's saying, it's plain for everyone to see and understand, but she does it in such a pretty way you just have no choice but to appreciate it. I could pick out pretty much any lyric from this song and completely obsess over it, but some of my favorites would include the end of that second verse when she says, "They're still high school sweethearts, just without the good parts. That 15-yard line grass was green as theirs would ever get." I mean, just the metaphors and parallels she draws between marriage and high school nostalgia, it really is something. That one line in the bridge when she says it's too bad the pages only turn one way, and then of course the chorus is absolutely like, yes. I don't even know what adjective to use. Faultless, flawless, perfect, whatever word you want to use. And I guess they stayed together just because they wrote forever on the inside of the cover by their names. They were in love, you can read it. I guess I've just only seen it in a red ink heart around my father's face. They've lived in the same house for almost 40 years now, but the last day they were on the same page was in a yearbook. Everything about it, the way the melody flows, how it intertwines with the twinkling guitars and the dreamy steel in the back, it's so Ingrid and dreamy, yet so country and straightforward. I just get so amped up even talking about it because it is so well executed and so well crafted, and I love how tragically honest she is and how unsugarcoated the message is, yet how sugarcoated and beautiful the lyrics and songwriting are. Looking out across the landscape of 2022, it is easily, in my opinion, one of the best songs we've gotten this year. I can guarantee this is not the last time you will hear me talk about Yearbook, but the album is just so mid, and that is my problem with Ingrid Andress.